This is the Loose Pass Rugby Podcast, only on Megafoon Rugby.
Welcome back to the Loose Pass Rugby Podcast, where I chat with Huw Griffin, and I want to often call him Griffin because it sounds like if I say you, then I mean you, and people get confused, and I get confused, and especially if I edit it, I get completely confused, but I'll just call you Huw Griffin. Huw Griffin, welcome back.
Hello. Yes, 'tis I. I join you from the coldest depths of Great Britain today, and it was -1 when I woke up, and it rose to the heady heights of 4 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. So I've had the heating on, which means that my gas bill is going to go up considerably this month.
The no-ball rugby matches for you, all going to go to the gas bill.
Yeah, exactly. I did think about wearing my bubble hat this week. I might switch from flat cap to bubble cap hats.
Well, at least one thing I know, you're going to be watching that Wales game in the stadium next week. Tell us about that.
I might wear my bubble hat to that, actually. Yeah. So I'll be seeing the Boks game, courtesy of a very, very kind follower who you can also find on this channel. His name's Paul. Check out his videos, definitely. So I might wear my Scarlet's bubble hat to that.
I'm going to put this link up there. It's called The Long Way to the Game. Very, very interesting videos. Links up here. Go watch it. So you... I want to talk about that instant reaction we did last weekend about the All Blacks versus England. And I thought, let's just do it, because we are an international rugby channel with a bit of a South African accent, South African roots. And lo and behold, the video took off. Clearly, we have a couple of English and Kiwi followers, don't we?
Clearly. I mean, obviously, you guys in South Africa have a close relationship with the All Blacks. They're your greatest enemies or your best friends, depending on the situation. And it's amazing that it took off, because surely the watch percentage would have been terrible given that you uploaded 20 minutes of blank screen at the end.
You had to get in there. I was in such a rush. I was so tired, I tell you what. And the next morning, people were saying, yeah, there's black screen. I thought, oh my word. Luckily it was at the end. And the best part was this one guy, and I actually said to him, he watched the whole 20 minutes of black screen.
To see if we came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw it and you uploaded it. It was 46 minutes long. I was like, I swear we never spoke for 46 minutes about that. And then I was watching it and it got to 18 minutes. And I was like, I swear this was the last thing that I said. Did I black out? Have I hallucinated that I spoke about this for 20 more minutes and forgot everything? No, it was just something weird had happened.
Now, all that happens, I use a template. I use the same video. So if the previous video was longer and there was a little snippet right at the end, like the previous typical video is about 50 minutes long, and I missed that snippet, it stays in the videos. So I have to be very, very careful in future.
You got to tell the viewers, you can't stop watching just because the screen's on blank. You must not stop watching because YouTube sees there'll be a cliff edge in the middle of the video. And then it will say, oh, people obviously hate this because they all stopped watching halfway through. And then no one else will want to watch it. So as a test,
screw up my watch percentage. You're right.
I know. Yeah. I know. So as a test, MV is going to upload 10 minutes of black screen at the end of this podcast, and you have to sit there and watch it, okay?
Yeah. Let's see how well it does. How loyal of subscribers really are. No, man, this just happens. That happens when I do a lot of stuff and it gets too much. But Saturday nights, I'm typically dead tired. I have to watch the games and, I had to deal with Harry in the Sweargate saga directly after the Springboks match. So, yeah, there we go. It was interesting. Listen, thanks for that. Let's see if we can do another one this weekend. I'm not sure if we are. We'll still decide. Let's start with what we do normally start. Your jersey. I can see what it is. I'm a little disappointed. I mean, but I know you've got, like French rugby and everything. But, man, what's this jersey about?
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried that I now own more France jerseys than... Wales and Scarlet's jerseys, which are the teams that I actually support. So I'm wearing a French one here behind me. I've got Scarlet, France, Wales is what's behind me. But up there on the shelf, I've got my Scarlet's hat and my Scarlet's scarf, which I might have to wear on a podcast if it gets any colder than this. But yes, anyway, France top, tracksuit top, sweater, whatever you want to call it. I thought so. The picture, this is secondhand. The pictures that I bought it off on the website showed it a different color. The person had edited the photo and the colors looked different. It looked more kind of like that color on the photos, and these look red like that. Whereas these are actually luminous orange, and this is kind of a teal color. It's been a bugger to find a pair of trousers that looks nice with them. Honestly, I just wore jeans in the end. But yes, so it looks all right, but it's very thin. It's very thin, MV. I nearly put another jumper on over the top of it the other day because, I'm going to have to stop talking about how cold it is because it's getting boring. But, point taken. And At least it looks all right, I guess. It's from 2016 if you're interested.
Well, surprise, surprise, it's from Adidas. I mean, Adidas has let you down.
Well, it fits okay, but yes, this probably is. I like everything that I only buy things that I like. So, that's why on my like jersey ratings, very little gets below a 5 out of 10 because if I didn't like it, I wouldn't have bought it. But yeah, this is going to be, I think, a 6 out of 10 at best.
Do you own any Springboks jerseys?
Not a full-on jersey. I've got 2 Bulls tops and a Stormers retro jersey. I own a Springboks warm-up top, but no full-on Springbok jersey.
We have to rectify that. We have to make a plan. Can't have that.
I've asked for a Zimbabwe jersey for Christmas.
You were promised one.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. But I've asked my mum and dad for one instead.
It's like my mom. I talked to CJ van Ananda. I don't know if you remember him, Springbok prop World Cup winner. But we speak in Afrikaans, and I call him CJ. But it's actually Sia, which is the Afrikaans version of it. We'll get to your Afrikaans lessons just now. And my mom took me to task because she said, MV, your name doesn't become MW just because it's English. It stays MV. So if his name is Sia, you can't call him CJ just because he's speaking English to you or whatever. So sorry, Mom, I'll make sure to listen to you in future. So there we go. I'm a middle-aged man still listening to my mom. So there we go.
You always listen to your mum.
Of course you do, man. And especially if you're South African, you listen to your mother. Anyway, listen, this week I'm going to have 2 Afrikaans lessons for you, and both of them are quite apt. And the first one is going to come in when we talk about the nominees for the World Player of the Year and the Rookie of the Year. So I'll tell you the word just now, but talk to me about the Player of the Year, those 4 nominations, what you thought of it. Is it just window dressing? Is it all being, to placate the South Africans because Rassie is once again not the Coach of the Year? Or what did you think?
I don't know. Yes, it was interesting. 1 Frenchman and 3 South Africans. Look, you are probably the best. Well, no, there's no probably about it. You are the best team in the world. And if you're picking a World 15, my policy for doing any such activity is you start with the best team and you see who's the upgrades. And when we'll talk about when we preview the Ireland match at the end of the show, how many players from other nations actually get into the Springbok team these days? Really not very many. You're talking Adi Surveyor, and then, any volunteers, any suggestions? Maybe people can leave in the comments who they think.
I mean, like a World 15 who's not a Springbok player. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So of the Springbok players, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I don't know. It's difficult. It's always difficult with these things because you go off recency bias. Who's played well lately? Who's done something for me lately? Has Pieter-Steph du Toit been in the top 3 Springbok players this season? Obviously, he's Pieter-Steph du Toit. I feel like, having spoken about the Springboks all year, I feel like I've barely spoken about him. Now, maybe that's just because we take it for granted. And if he was like some 21-year-old kid who'd only just come into the team, he'd be going, "Oh my God, have you seen this guy?" So maybe we just take it for granted. But I don't know. I feel like both Willemse and Sasha have been the players who we've spoken most about for the Springboks this year. I'm okay with Marks being there, and I guess Ox being there. That's who everybody I think wants to win. I kind of think that Louis Bielbiore is the favourite though at the moment.
I saw a French guy comment to say, "Listen, Louis Bielbiore was maybe the favourite after the Six Nations, but it sort of faded away since then."
Yes, I agree, and they say that they don't take club form into account at all. Doesn't go into the consideration for this. So what he did with Bordeaux is irrelevant. But obviously, he broke the record for the number of tries scored in a single Six Nations, which is a good enough reason. I think it's interesting that there's no British and Irish players nominated in a Lions year. Like Mario Itoje, you would have thought, for captaining the Lions on a highly successful tour and for how much better England have gotten since he's been made captain. I would say that if Pieter-Steph deserves a shout, then Mario Itoje probably deserves a shout as well. Sorry for being controversial. But yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Like, I think the most spoken about player in 2025 has been Sasha, and he's not nominated for anything.
Yeah, true. He was nominated for Rookie of the Year last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was. Can't remember if he won it.
No, I can't remember either. Shows you how important these things really are, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the Afrikaans word I want to teach you is uitstekend. And this is a viewer suggestion because it's a nice tongue twister, uitstekend, and it means excellent. So when we South Africans saw these three nominees before, it sort of felt vindicated, and we thought, excellent, uitstekend, let's hear it.
Uitstekend.
Ach, no, man, that was way too easy. I thought you were going to stumble over that one.
It's just like the number 8 and then stekend at the end.
Oh, yeah, but now, phonetically, yes. So 8 is UIT and then stekend. So it means it stands out, literally, if you translate it directly.
That's one of those, like, because obviously Afrikaans is, very similar to Dutch. And sometimes when you read Dutch, it sounds like English in a funny accent. And that's an example of an Afrikaans word that's a bit like that. That if someone said it to you, uitstekend, you'd be like, what does that mean? And then they go, excellence. And you go, oh, right, okay, so it's just excellence.
Clearly. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I get that. All right, let's talk about the Rookie of the Year. And then Ethan Hooker, I would suggest, is in there. And of course, the big controversial thing is featured on 2 of our thumbnails in the past 2 weeks is Henry Pollock. I mean, I watched that guy watching the haka chewing away and he's chewing gum, and I just thought, you're everything a South African does not like personified. So what do you think of that?
Yeah. On the one hand, he's yet to start a test match. On the other hand, he's been really, really good and he got on the Lions tour. So that's pretty good for Rookie of the Year. And if a criteria is how much were you talked about, he's pretty up there for that as well. So yeah, that's a funny one. I guess if they want to do it to generate the most interaction, they should give the award to him. Fabian Holland is the one that's been awarded it, and I have to be honest, I think all Blacks fans are a bit excited about him. I haven't seen that many other people. I'm probably going to get all lots of second row specialists, South Africans in the comments now talking about
Kiwis. We clearly have Kiwi supporters, so they're going to know,
Yeah, I know. Sorry. And then who's the other one? Ethan Hooker. The argument that I saw about Ethan Hooker is he's not first choice.
Neither is Henry Pollock.
No. Whereas Fabian Holland arguably is. Who's the other one? There's another one. I can't remember.
No, I can't remember either. Clearly not important.
Yeah, it's clearly not that interesting.
No, clearly. No, I would say Ethan Hooker. I would say if it was, like you just said, about standout and creative publicity and a bit of a buzz, I think Henry Pollock is probably a clear favorite. I just think Ethan Hooker will be one of the big Springboks in the future. We saw him this weekend at 12, a position he likes to play. It's actually his preferred position, but he hasn't played there for a long time. He plays at the wings and maybe outside centre for the Sharks, but he did quite well there, I suppose. But so, if I take my South African shirt off, I would probably, unfortunately, it grates me to say this, say Henry Pollock.
Yeah, I think the one who's established himself in a team the most is Fabian Holland, but I thought everybody thought that the All Blacks were rubbish now, so.
Yeah, but I mean, if you establish yourself in the team, because everybody else is sort of rubbish and you're not really that special, it doesn't mean much, does it?
No, the whole thing is silly anyway.
All right, no, that's fine. We never talked about the player of the year. Who you think is going to take that?
I think Louis Bielbiere will win it. I don't know whether that's right or wrong. I would have nominated completely different people, to be honest with you. I'll tell you one thing, then. I think that Argentinians get done over in these awards. I think Argentina have been fantastic. I think Juan Cruz Malia should have been nominated last year. And if you just look at how they're playing, look at the results that they're getting. They beat the Lions with 1 week's training. They beat the All Blacks every year now. They should have beaten Australia twice. Look at what they did against Scotland. I know that doesn't come into consideration, this November, so fair enough. But I think that Argentina are really underrated generally in rugby. I think the English-speaking nations are probably a little bit overrepresented. Although, having said that, France, so maybe I retract that. And I also think that controversially on this South African rugby platform, I think that Felipe Contepone is well deserving of a Coach of the Year award. I think what he has done with Argentina is absolutely incredible. The whole thing that he's built, the whole ecosystem that he has built and he's got them into being number 1 seeds for their pool at the Rugby World Cup. I think he's a special coach, and I would love to see him get recognised as well.
I think you'll find that opinion of yours is quite popular. Yeah. I don't think there's too much of a problem with that. Yeah, Rossi is our favorite, but I think on this platform specifically, you'll find a bit more objectivity, and I think that's a good call. So the actual coach of the year is John Mitchell, was awarded in September already. So
Yeah.
what's the
I
story there?
forgot. I posted
I
on
also
social
forgot.
media.
Yeah.
I posted on social media. Felipe Contaponi must win World Coach of the Year. I shan't have it any other way. Here's all of the reasons why. And then Rian Lowe of all people, I got a load of likes and like reshares and things. And then Rian Lowe of all people commented and said, John Mitchell's already won it, bro. I was like, oh, whoops, delete.
I don't get that. It doesn't matter. I mean, shouldn't there be a women's coach of the year and a men's coach of the year? There's a women's player of the year and
No,
a
I
women's.
don't think so. I think it's everyone's trying to do the same thing. And it's a World Cup year. And he's the coach of statistically the most dominant rugby team of all time. So there.
Yeah, with the biggest budget, and everything else. But that's a story for another day. Talking of a World Cup year, in non-World Cup years, from next year on, there's going to be a Nations Championship, Nations Cup, whatever I call it. But you call it the Jet Lag Cup. And I thought, what an appropriate name. Such a good name, man. Tell us about that.
Yes, the Jet Lag Cup. So this is something that we've known was coming for a long time, but also didn't know anything about it in very, very rugby style. Because I saw some journalists up here were saying, hey guys, you know that this is the last November internationals as we know it, but no one's talking about it in those terms. So yeah, so the top 12 teams in the world, with the exception of Georgia, are above Japan in the rankings, although that might change this weekend because they're playing against each other. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So all of the Six Nations teams, all of the Rugby Championship teams, remember that tournament is the thing that you guys used to do in the South, but you've given up on it now. And then Fiji and Japan are playing together. Now, what's interesting about this is that everyone's playing each other in that, apart from, I don't think that any of the Rugby Championship nations are playing against Fiji. Japan get games all the time against everybody. But when was the last time South Africa even played Fiji? Like years and years and years ago. Okay, so Australia played them this year. But anyway, Argentina versus Fiji. I'd watch that. What a game that would be. So anyway, those 12 teams are all playing each other. So there's 3 tests in the summer, then there's 3 tests in November. Sorry, in the summer, in our summer. And there's 3 tests in July, 3 tests in November. And in the July tests, the Northern Hemisphere teams are away from home. And in the November tests, the Southern Hemisphere teams are away from home. So it's pretty similar to how it was now, except for instead of it being an incoming tour for you guys where one team comes down and plays 2 or 3 matches, everyone's moving around, hence the Jet Lag Cup. So Wales are playing Fiji, South Africa, and Argentina in back-to-back-to-back weeks. But having said that, no one knows where Fiji are actually going to play the games. I have seen so far listed Edinburgh, London, somewhere in the south of France, somewhere in Australia or Pretoria as the venue for Fiji's home games. So we don't know yet where Fiji are going to play. Apparently, they are going to play England in Pretoria, so you can go and watch that in there. You'll go and watch Fiji versus England in
I will, yeah.
in Loftus, won't you? That'd be good. So I think it makes sense for Fiji to play their games in Pretoria. However, having said that, if Fiji want to make the most money out of it, probably playing it in London would be the way to do that, as we learned at the end of the Rugby Championship. So Wales play Fiji somewhere we don't know yet, then fly down to South Africa, and then fly to Argentina all the other way around. But anyway, in back-to-back weeks, they fly from South Africa to Argentina to play test matches. This is Wales, by the way, the worst tier 1 nation in the world.
Your team. But listen,
I can say. Yeah.
I'm a little confused here. Is it only those 3 tests in July and the 3 tests in November that count? What about the Six Nations? What about the Rugby Championship? Because when do we know? Do the southern teams play against each other? Does it count towards a championship, or do only those 2 windows count? So we're only playing the northern teams because it's a northern hemisphere versus southern hemisphere kind of tournament. The southern hemisphere is Rugby Championship teams plus Japan and Fiji. I don't think they play each other. The southern guys play each other at all. I mean, it's a little bit murky. Maybe I misread it or something. But am I understanding it correctly?
The way that I'm understanding it is that, yeah, it will only be these that count. So it's kind of a very rugby thing of you're in a pool, but you play everyone in the other pool. That's a very popular format for rugby competitions. WXV does this a lot. It's really annoying. So I don't think. So what happens is it's 2 pools, a northern pool and a southern pool, and then you play everyone in the other pool, So you don't play against each other. So I don't think that the Six Nations does count towards it, but I wouldn't be surprised if World Rugby put up a press release in 2 weeks and say, oh, no, actually it does. And then there's a finals week in London. So 6th in the southern pool plays 6th in the northern pool, and then 5th and 4th and 3rd, and then there's a grand final between first, which means, Enveyor, that the Springboks and the All Blacks cannot both be in the final. Only one of them can be in the final.
Yeah, because they will play a northern team.
Yeah, against the top northern team. And then apparently, I read in the Times, there is not just a trophy for the team, but there's also a trophy for the hemisphere that comes out on top. So someone, Antoine Dupont, could be lifting the trophy on behalf of the Northern Hemisphere. Can you imagine?
No, it's not going to happen. I can't imagine. It's impossible. It'll never happen. No,
I don't understand how it works anyway, because you South Africans are Northern Hemisphere these days anyway.
Well, sort of. I'm going to tell you a dirty joke when you go off air. About, having one foot in the one continent and one foot in the other continent. I'll tell you that one another day or later on. So anyway, so it's going to be the Southern Hemisphere playing the Northern Hemisphere. You get 4 points for a win, you get 2 points for a draw, and you get no points for a loss, and you get the same bonus point for 4 tries, and a loss is less than 7 points. And it all adds up. But then, like this live golf thing, you also get points for the teams for the Southern Hemisphere versus Northern Hemisphere. I get that. Bit convoluted, and we'll see how it plays out. But I think it's a good idea. The only problem is, what I'm concerned about is World Rugby just said the other day, you're not allowed to play more than 30 games a year. So let's add more to them, and let's, while we're at it, throw in a lot of, cross time zone travel. Let's make it even more difficult. How's that going to work?
Well, you guys are playing the heck out of the All Blacks, so...
But you guys are not used to it. You guys are just used to jumping in a Ryanair flight, take 12 hours to fly to Ireland and not get there, or just jump across the channel. That's the worst you do. But now you have to fly all across the world, man. Week after week after week. It's not going to work.
The Jet Lag Cup, that's why I called it. But excitingly, there is a Tier 2 version of it as well.
Yes, tell me about that.
So the Tier 2 version is like this. That is also split into 2 pools. There is a European, Asian, and African pool. It's perfectly straightforward. I won't be repeating any of this. Between which has got Georgia, Hong Kong. This is testing my flag knowledge. I've got a graphic in front of me with the flags. Georgia, Hong Kong, Portugal, Romania, Spain, and Zimbabwe in Pool A. And then in Pool B is the Americas and Pacific pool, which is Canada, Chile, Tonga, USA, Uruguay. And at the time that the graphic was released, we didn't know who the other one would be, but we have since learned that it shall be Samoa, because they won the final qualification tournament, which I'll tell you on about in a second. What would have been funny about that, Enveyor, is that up until on the day that was released, we didn't know who that team was going to be. It could have been Belgium. So Belgium could have been in the Americas and Pacifica pool playing against all the European teams. But that's the same. That's the same as well. That's the same as well in that you play everyone not in your pool. I actually like this. I actually like the Tier 2 version. When I interviewed the guys from Zimbabwe, they said they were looking forward to it and it'd be really good for them. I don't subscribe to the theory that Tier 2 teams need to play against Tier 1 teams all the time to get better. I think that for a lot of these Tier 2 teams, getting matches against each other, against teams that kind of in and around their level, is a good step. Like, I don't think that there's any point in Canada or Zimbabwe or Romania playing against the All Blacks anytime soon. Whereas I think if they played against Uruguay or Tonga or something, I think that would be far more valuable for them, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to that. I think I'll enjoy that a lot more than I'll enjoy the Tier 1 one, to be honest.
Oh, well, let's see. I mean, I like the fact that there's something at stake here. It's not just a friendly, and not just a once-off. I mean, it just adds up to everything, and not just to the actual winner of the pool and then the tournament, but also the hemispheres. I like that. But let's move on. You mentioned the final qualification tournament. It was a bit of a nail biter, and we expected Belgium to give Samoa a run at the end. I mean, it almost was Belgium, like you said.
Bloody hell, what a game. What a tense game. It just goes to show that with rugby, you don't need tries to make something exciting. You don't need lots of action. You don't need crazy things. You just need stakes. You just need jeopardy. It was a 13-all draw, and on social media, no one could talk about anything else. Wow. And Belgium came out of nowhere. Would you like me to tell you about Belgium's 2025 thus far?
Yeah, please, yeah. I didn't know who they are. I never knew they played rugby.
So Belgium finished 6th in Rugby Europe in the normal kind of pool stages. Rugby Europe then has seeding, a bit like the Under-20s World Championships. And Belgium shocked Netherlands. Everyone thought that the Netherlands were going to win, but they didn't. Belgium beat them, which no one was expecting. And then Belgium, since they went on, they played USA and lost just about in a competitive match. And then they played Canada and they beat Canada. And then, I'm just getting the thing up, they went into the final qualification tournament and they beat Namibia, they beat Brazil, and then they drew with Samoa. So Belgium have only lost one in their last 9 games. And apparently their team is all full of like lower league French players, which you would expect really geographically, but apparently they've had a load of players declare for them. And it was a great game. It was they gave everything. Their defense was amazing. You gutted for them at halftime. I started the game wanting Samoa to get through because I was scared for Samoa. If they didn't get through, what might happen to them?
Rugby wise.
Yeah, but then as the game went on, I think everyone wanted Belgium to win by the end of the game because they gave it absolutely everything. Fair play to them. And they played like there's a future for Belgium rugby that they are playing for. Whereas nice. Samoa didn't attack it with the same thing. If you look at the team sheets on paper, Samoa should be crushing Belgium every day of the week because they've got players from Super Rugby, from the top 14, from the English Premiership, full-time elite level professional rugby players, and Belgium don't. But one team gave it everything and the other team was a bit underwhelming, to be honest. So, 13-all draw with Belgium is where Samoa now are, apparently. They nearly beat England at the World Cup 2 years ago.
Yeah, and it's such a short time, and they played apparently abysmally bad. You would have expected them to play out of their skin after they lost against Chile, and they were forced to go play here, and they didn't. They didn't, pitch up. They won, but not how we expected them to win anyway. All right, let's move on. My next Afrikaans word, I'm going to say the word in the beginning, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm asking or teaching you this word, and see if you can figure it out. The word, and I'm continuing on the theme of the last couple of weeks, is gatvol. And
I've heard Andre Pretorius use this word.
Yeah, so let's see if you can figure it out. Gatvol, and it relates to South Africans' feelings towards inconsistent refereeing, TMOs, and everything else. Red cards being handed out left, right, and centre. What do you think it means?
Because I've heard it being used. I think it means like bitter.
No, not bitter, but close.
Resentful.
Fed up is what it means.
Okay, fed up. Okay, I will be able to use that one because I'm hurtful about something else. I'll tell you about it a bit later.
I like that you actually got that G right. I mean, that's quite unusual. It's a very guttural G.
Yes. Well, no, thank you. But I've heard that one. I've heard Andre Pretorius use it on your pod. He said something along the lines of, "En where it makes me..." Yeah, can't say it now. "En where it makes me hurtful." It's like hurt small.
That's very close. You're right. Okay. All right. So anyway, let's talk about that red card quickly. What's your opinion on Franco Mostard's red card now being downgraded to a yellow? And it's all fine and well and fine and dandy. But I mean, the Springboks played with 14 men for 68 minutes. We could have lost that game. And we not really, but I mean, the point is the jeopardy was there. And we saw Rassie being very upset, actually being a little more vocal than normal. And Mzondeli Stick, the assistant coach, really laying into the people at Monday's press conference, not really holding back, which shows you the level of frustration or gatvulness of the Springboks.
Gatvulness a word?
I just made it up. I mean, I'm South African, so I'm a mixture of English and Afrikaans, so there you go. Yeah, whatever works for you. What do you think?
Yes. Look, all I'll say is that I went back and counted, and including the Tier 2 matches, there were 30 cards across 11 games last weekend. Now, it can't be that every rugby player is misbehaving that badly. Something is up here. Something's gone on, and it feels like we've gone back to. Do you remember when the high tackle laws first came in, and we saw like even a touch of like a chin against the shoulder was a red card, and it went crazy. And then they kind of dialed it back a little bit, and they were like, no, okay, no, come on, not every head contact is a red card. Not everything is this. Let's just put in the process and stuff. And it felt like it was coming down, it was coming down, it was coming down, it was coming down. And then in the last 2 weekends, it just shot back up again. And it's like any touch. Like there was one in the France-Fiji game where the France player runs into the Fijian player. Fijian player like pushes him to the side. There's another Fijian player here. The France player who's being tackled hits the Fijian player who's just stood still, doing nothing. The France player hits into him, and that player gets yellow carded. And I was like, what's going on? And it didn't just get yellow carded, it went to the bunker. I think the bunker just sent him straight back on. It's like, lads, he hasn't done anything, put him back on the pitch. But it's ridiculous, you know, and not long ago, it would have been seen as uncouth, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, to like bang on about, oh, referees need to put their cards away, because that was a very unfashionable thing to say. But when we're seeing them at this level, like every single test match at the weekend, including at tier 2 level, had at least one yellow card. I think all but one had at least 2 yellow cards. And I think I counted 5 that had at least 3 cards given out. It's daft. We're looking for reasons to give cards now. And then something's gone weird with their mindset about how they want to give full red cards again. For some reason, no, we are going to give full red cards again. That's just... I think World Rugby need to have a bit of a think about how they want the product to look, and that takes a lot for me to say that, because I've been one of the many people pushing back against the 20-minute red card, saying that the emphasis needs to be on players to change their behaviours rather than the cards to go away. But when you've got 6'8" locks bent double hitting someone in the chest and they're getting red carded, you know, then the conversation's changed.
Oh, like I said to you last week, I'm quite tall. Lotte Jager is more than a head taller than I am. I stood next to him. How is he going to tackle me without hitting me somewhere that he shouldn't be hitting me? And I'm tall. I'm almost 2 meters tall. I mean, so it doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, well, not really almost 2 meters, and not if it's 30 centimeters, but you know where I'm going with this. So anyway, yeah, thanks for that. So it's quite a considered opinion. I appreciate that. Talking about the Springboks, let's just talk about the upcoming game against Ireland quickly. What are you thinking? What are you expecting? Harry and I talked about it last night. Unfinished business. Springboks have lost 4 out of the last 5 games against Ireland. Think we can settle the scores, or are we on to hiding for nothing again?
Yeah, you've got a funny record against Ireland, haven't you? And the funny thing is about it is I don't really know why. Because especially like the teams as they are now, what do Ireland have that you don't have? You know, player-wise, how many Irish players get into your team? You know, I think Dan Sheehan probably gets game time for the Springboks, whether it's the starter or off the bench, I'm not saying. I think Dan Sheehan gets game time. I think Ty Byrne gets game time. I think James Gibson-Park gets game time. Caelan Doris probably gets game time, especially with your number 8 injury crises. I think that's about it. MW. So what do they have that you don't have? And after they beat Australia last weekend, I actually saw a really good thread by an Irish rugby fan saying all these things that we dominated Australia at, like in the air, at set piece time, etc., etc. We're not going to be able to do that against the Boks because they're better than us at those. You can't beat the Boks at those things. And yet their record against you is very good. And this is the thing about Ireland and Andy Farrell's Ireland is there's lots of legitimate criticisms that you can level at them, both of decisions that he's making in selection and stuff like that. But they keep winning. They keep winning. So, and when they do win, you have to say, yeah, they played well. So there it is. Andy Farrell I agree with him on that. He doesn't sacrifice absolutely everything in the name of a Rugby World Cup. His priority is always just win the next game. Now, the pros and cons of that you can debate. But I like that approach as a fan because I want to see my team winning games. But he's in a funny situation with Ireland at the moment because he's trying to evolve Ireland's game plan without changing any of the players or changing any of his assistant coaches, which is really, really, really hard to do and is going to take a long time. You know, it would be a lot easier to change the game plan if you picked a lot of different players and changed your assistant coaches to specialize it. But he's asking the whole organization of the same people to go from here to here in terms of style and how they do their business. And it's been painful at times. And it's been bumpy, and I'm not sure that they will definitely get there. But they smashed Australia. Australia are done. They're finished, honestly. But like I said, you should There shouldn't be anything that Ireland can throw at you that you can't match. And yet, that's been the case every time you played them so far, and you've been struggling to pick up the W's.
Somebody made a nice comment, a very, I thought, apt comment in one of our threads, and said, when Ireland plays in Joburg, for example, or South Africa plays in Dublin, we can adapt to the conditions, but we won't thrive because it's so unlike the way we like to play, both the two teams respectively. How much of a role will that home ground advantage play? The conditions, the weather, it's supposedly cold and wet, like you just said, partisan crowd, huge stadium. Springboks are not scared of that, but the point is it's gonna have an influence. What are you expecting from that?
Yeah, it will have an influence. You say partisan crowds. The Dublin crowd is known for being quite quiet, to be honest.
Yeah, but there's not going to be many Springbok supporters, is what I'm getting at.
There's thousands of Springbok supporters everywhere. Throw a stone, you hit 10. Doesn't matter where you are.
Ask Paul.
Yeah. So I don't know if the atmosphere is going to pay into much. Having said that, if they're going to be up for any game, it'll be this one. So I think if you've been able to beat France in Paris, you'll be able to cope with the atmosphere in Dublin against Ireland, I should say. If you can't cope with a bit of cold, then what can you cope with?
Yeah, and they've been over there for about a month now. I'm supposed to used to the cold now. Has it gotten worse now since, a month ago or 3 weeks ago? The cold and wet.
Oh, it's gotten worse since 3 days ago. It's really turned. It's unpleasant.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I don't know how well we adapt. How well we will adapt. I'm probably going to get crucified for saying that because we can adapt to anything in here, but we'll see anyway. All right, let's just talk about some quick news quickly. Last week we talked about Munster signing a prop. We thought maybe a South African prop. I thought maybe Morne Smith, and then the Bulls came out and said, no, Morne Smith signed up till 2028, 2029. They had a whole bunch of players committing for long term, including Hendrik Wessels and Cameron Hanekom. I was worried about Cameron Hanekom. I thought he was going to go back to the Cape. Thank goodness he's not. So who has Munster signed as a prop?
They signed Michael Alalatoa from Claremont, who is the Samoan tight head.
Oh, is it? And he's a brother of Alan, is he?
Yes.
Alan's plays for Australia. That's one of those interesting things. All right. Something else he sent me that was quite interesting is we talked about watching the top 14. Quite often we can't watch it in South Africa. Canal Plus or Canal Plus or whatever how you pronounce it. It's a French company has now bought MultiChoice. Apparently, they're squeezing all the suppliers for a 20% discount on absolutely everything. So that's new for us to get used to. But now there's some movements about watching top 14 in other countries.
Yes. So, like you said, Canal Plus. I'll tell you just a quick story. I have been up here. The internationals, the November internationals, have been on TNT Sports, which is a paid subscription service. A guy at work has been lending me his TNT account so I could watch it. However, there was some kind of issue and his account got shut down. So I couldn't use it. However, my friend Maz from the Top 14 podcast, she has a subscription to Canal Plus, which she's given me the login to. So I watched all of the games on that, which means I watched all of the games with French commentary, except for the Wales game, which I watched with Welsh commentary. So I didn't watch a single game this weekend with English commentary. And my enjoyment of it was not affected whatsoever. I'm probably glad that I didn't watch England versus All Blacks with English commentary. Gosh, can you imagine? But yes, so Canal Plus have bought Super Sports, and now there's this like multi-viewer thing that they are rolling out. So you can watch the top 14 this weekend. There is top 14 games this weekend on Friday nights. If you want a Friday night fix of rugby, because they've moved a top 14 game. Normally the top 14 isn't on Fridays, but because there's a France game on Saturday, they've moved one game forward. So you can watch Bordeaux versus Po, if you would like, which is going to be a good game, I promise. They're two very good teams on Friday night. You can tune in for that. So South Africans can now watch the top 14. So at the moment, it's just on this multi-viewer thing. Maybe they'll roll it out a bit more onto Super Sports properly later. We should wait and see.
That's interesting. Because Bordeaux is playing the Bulls in 2 weeks' time at Loftus. And Bordeaux is the Champions Cup champions at the moment. Yeah. That's actually quite a good thing. Just as a matter of interest, I'm arranging with the Bulls. The Bulls are going to give me 10 tickets to give away for the match next week against the Lions. So we'll tell you how to win those, get hold of those or some of those. So thank you for the Bulls. We appreciate that. But just as a matter of interest, 2 weeks out, what are you expecting from that game? Do the Bulls stand any chance, do you think?
Against Bordeaux? at Loftus.
Mm.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
If it's a
Bulls
proper
should not
Bordeaux
fear-
team, if they send a proper team, not like last time.
Bordeaux aren't as good this year as they were last year. They're taking a little bit to get going. Now that Luku is back, that is helping, but I don't know whether they'll send them down, to be honest. Every time the match is Jalabert needs to get on a plane, his ankle starts hurting and he can't go. He's one of my favorite players, by the way, so that's coming from a place of love. Look, Blue Bulls out there. You can beat everyone at Loftus, surely.
I mean, these Blue Bulls, I mean, with the upheaval, I don't know. I mean, they've been struggling a little bit. I am hoping that Johan Ackerman is taken this time in November, to really settle down, find his feet, because he was thrown into the deep end. I am hoping that he's taken this time to consolidate and, get things, the way he wants it.
He's taking this time to think about what he's done, to reflect.
Well, think about what he wants to do more than anything else, I suppose. I don't know, I'm a little concerned about what's going to happen. You said we'll be lucky to make the top 8. We'll make the top 8 probably, but that's how it's going to. Or did you say that, or Harry say that? I can't remember. But that's what we have to be aiming for, don't you think?
Top 8. Blue Bulls have got to aim for top 4, top 2.
Mm.
You're supposed to be the best South African team.
Yeah. Well,
Are you happy to see the Stormers finish before you? Is that what you're saying?
Not happy at all. Can you imagine? By the way, Harry is going to be with the Stormers for the La Rochelle game. The full Bonte on the bus, on the plane, in the hotels, on the sidelines, in the change room. So Harry's getting the full royal treatment.
And all he had to do was insult their scrum.
I know. I can't insult the Bulls. I just can't do it. It's not in my personality. It just grates me. I can't do it. Anyway.
If I insulted the Scarlets, they would not invite me on the bus. They would blacklist me. I've got friends and colleagues in Welsh rugby podcasting circles who didn't even insult teams and they've been blacklisted. So, fair play to the Stormers, I suppose.
All right, let's finish this off with our customary 3 games of the week that you have to watch. I'm not prescribing anything. I've learned my lesson. So if the Springboks happen to be there, a pat on the shoulder for you and a sly wink, but I'll leave it up to you.
Yes, my top 3 games of the weekend that you must watch are Ireland versus the Springboks, because that's a heavyweight clash. You must watch England versus Argentina on Sunday, because I think that's going to tactically be a very interesting match-up. Even though England did do a job on Argentina back in July, I'm interested to see this one. England have got a few injuries. And then you must watch Georgia versus Japan, because the winner of that will be 2nd seed in their pool for the Rugby World Cup, and the loser will be 3rd seed. And if Japan win, which I've got a feeling they might, then Japan will go into the top 12. And then this kind of Rugby Nations Championship thing will truly be one group with the top 12 and a second group with the bottom 12. If not, then there'll be an overlap because Georgia are better than Japan. But anyway, so that's one that is probably the most actual stakes on the line, like consequences of defeat on the line, is Georgia versus Japan.
I actually wanted to ask you or tell you this, and I forgot, but luckily you talked about Japan now. I was gutted for Japan against Wales. I know, man, they came so close.
Wales were dreadful in that game. Wales were absolutely awful. I wasn't happy at all. Like, we won, but I was furious. I was like, in the first half, Enver, we were playing against 13-man Japan, and we couldn't get out of our own half. Like, we were abysmally bad as we've ever been. So even though we won, and I've seen a lot of like neutral fans go, Wales fans, take the victory. You don't win very often. Be happy about it. Mm. This is the thing about I'm cursed by knowledge, and they say that ignorance is bliss. Yeah. And I'm cursed by spending all my time watching a shocking amount of rugby matches. And I know what a good team looks like, and I know what a bad team looks like. And Wales might have won, but they ain't a good team.
And Steve Tandy, not making a difference? Too soon to tell?
Yes, it is too soon to tell. I won't judge him until the end of the Six Nations. However, I haven't seen a difference yet, no.
Mm. I saw him being stressed out in the coach's box there. Shame, man.
Yeah, I would be stressed out if I was him too.
True. Anyway, you, as always, that was good. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And again, thank you for that instant reaction that I asked you about, just almost on a whim, and it worked out beautifully. So thanks for that. Let's do it again next week.
No worries, man. Enjoyed it.
Cheers. Thanks.
This is the Loose Pass Rugby podcast, only on Megaphone Rugby.